Hello guys and welcome back to the channel. Now guys, we're back on the Sowore narrative again, a situation that is fast turning into an albatross around the Malam Buhari regime's neck. So this time around the Americans are showing a keen interest, or should I say that their interest is increasingly growing, because they've always shown an interest, but that interest is now growing and is now taking a firm footing, with actions now being taken off the back of that interest. And with that guys, I bring you this: United States sends representative to monitor Sowore's trial. So that's the headline: United States sends representatives to monitor Sowore's trial. So now let's see now how the Americans are positioned in this matter. The United States has sent a delegation to monitor and observe the trial of pro-democracy campaigner and journalist Omoyele Sowore at the Federal High Court, Abuja. This comes after some American lawmakers last week wrote a letter to Nigeria's Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, SAN, over the rearrest and continued detention of the journalist by the Department of State Services. Sowore was rearrested inside the Abuja court on December 6, 2019 by DSS operatives less than 24 hours after he was released on bail after serving 125 days in detention. At the resumed hearing of the case on Monday at the Federal High Court in Abuja, political officer of the United States Embassy in Nigeria, Marcus Thornton, was seen exchanging pleasantries with Sowore's lawyer, Femi Falana, SAN, after the day's proceeding. Falana had earlier faulted the application for adjournment made by counsel to the AGF, Abdullahi Abubakar. On his part, counsel to the DSS, Godwin Agwadau, told the court that he got to know about the case on the pages of the newspaper, stating that he had not been served with the court processes and hearing notice. The judge asked the registrar to show Mr. Agwadau the acknowledgement copies of the court processes served on the DSS. So now I'll pause there just to reflect on that. So now this is now this continuing habit that this DSS has for telling just almost childish lies. So you were served a court notice which was receipted for, and a court notice of course will then be passed on to the legal department of whatever organization that notice is being served on. And now you, as the lawyer now that is acting on that case on behalf of the party involved that has been served that notice, have the temerity to come to court and tell a judge that you were not aware that that notice has been served. So the judge, of course, now produced the receipt to say, look, this notice was served, it was served to your offices, and it was receipted for. So how can you then be the counsel in this matter and not be aware that a court notice has been served? So it is just the level of lies. So now even the lawyers now of these people are now telling all these childish, juvenile lies. I mean, everybody lies, and there's always a bit of untruth in a legal process, but the crudeness of the lies is so petty and so childish and so unintelligent, the lies that these people tell, that you wonder sometimes if there's a brain functioning there, or they're playing some sort of three-dimensional chess that is above our understanding, because this is just crass really for a lawyer to turn up in court to say that he's not aware of a notice that was served to the offices of the people that is coming to represent in the court, and is telling the judge this is what is going on in Nigeria. Anyway, we carry on. But Falana punctured the argument, noting that all processes and hearing notice were served on the DSS and AGF. He submitted that the matter before the court had to do with the liberty of a citizen, urging the court to proceed with the matter. However, Falana maintained that all the processes filed by Abubakar were not properly filed. He asked him to regularize his processes for appearance. So this is now Femi Falana again having the need and feeling the need to tutor the DSS's lawyer on legal processes or court proceedings. You will recall, of course, that it was this same Femi Falana that had to tutor the DSS operatives that they cannot arrest a person within the confines of a court premises, or within the confines of a court premises. He had to tutor them on that. So he's tutoring their operatives, he's tutoring their lawyers, and we are now hearing all these things that they are not even aware of notices that were served on them, even though they receipted for it. So this is now what we're contending with. So their whole idea is just to hold this guy irrespective. So there's no preparation, there's no reasoning, there's no intellect behind any of these things that is going on. It's just sheer brute force. So this is what we're seeing now at play, sheer brute force, as it's been demonstrated by Malam Buhari and his cohorts. So we carry on. But Abubakar insisted that he had filed all the processes before the court. The situation compelled the court to stand down the case for a few minutes to enable the court registrar to search for the documents. The judge later told the court that he may not proceed with the case because the applicant, Sowore, was the publisher of Sahara Reporters that accused him in a publication of collecting bribe from a former governor of Benue State standing trial for a criminal case in 2016 and 2019. So now this judge now is even now having to recuse himself, of course, now because he's now an involved party, of course, because he has had an encounter, of course, with Sowore prior in 2016, where Sowore accused him of taking bribe, which is not something uncommon with Nigerian judges, because justice, of course, as we all know, in Nigeria is largely bought and not applied. So an encounter with the judge, which has now led to him having to recuse himself. But then, of course, did this judge not know that he had this encounter with Sowore prior to the case proceeding to this stage, or prior to the stage where Sowore is now having to have a hearing for his release? So this might well be either revenge to say, okay, I'll take it to this point and then I'll recuse myself so that they can continue to detain him, to punish him for what he did to me in 2016, or this is yet more levity and laxity within the system, because really it should never have proceeded to this stage. As soon as the case was assigned to that judge, and the judge, knowing that the situation between him and Sowore is as they are, then he should have recused himself at that point, or turned down that case to say that, look, I cannot be impartial in this particular matter, or I cannot be deemed impartial, or there's no complete appearance of impartiality in this matter, because I have had a run-in with this character previously, which even though it might not weigh on my judgment, people might infer it upon the case whichever way I sway. So he should have recused himself at the point of the case being assigned to him, of course. So why take on that case and progress it to this stage, only then to come up with this excuse to recuse yourself? Are you just now coming to the realization that you had this encounter with Sowore in 2016? Because of course, if you remember now, then you should have remembered then, and if you remembered then why did you not recuse yourself? This is really the situation. So it's either they are playing the long game with the Sowore, or they are just kicking the can down the road and kicking the can down the road just to detain this guy ad infinitum, or this guy is just maybe corrupt, as Sowore inferred in 2016. Whatever the situation is, he should have recused himself. But we carry on. He said justice is rooted in confidence, and that none of the parties should have the apprehension or fear that they would not get justice in his court. So which speaks to exactly all that rambling that I just did. Whilst reacting to the point made by the judge, Falana said though he was not aware of the publication in question, he would ask that the case be sent back to the Chief Judge of the Federation for reassignment. So now the case is now going to be reassigned, and then of course the judge that they are going to reassign it to, we then have to go through the case file and then assign a date, and all of these processes of course will mean that Sowore will continue to be in the custody of the DSS. So already Christmas is gone, so there's no Christmas for Christmas is not gone, but certainly Christmas is gone for him, because there'll be no Christmas with his family, and the chances of him seeing the new year in with his family is very slim as well. But what chances are there of him actually spending 2020 in the bosom of his family is really the question. So we're seeing these things play out now, and they're kicking the can down the road and kicking the can down the road, and they've kicked it down the road to the point that they've seen out this year, and they will of course now find reasons to hold on to him for as long as they can. But how long will that be? With the American involvement now is really where the play is now in this never-ending Sowore saga. Conversations in the comment section. What do you make of all this? The Americans are coming and they are riding shotgun for Sowore. What says you? Do you agree or disagree with the Americans showing such a visible and visual interesting dates, because they actually sent a representative to the court, and that representative of course was joshing with Femi Falana. So clearly you know where their allegiance lie, but where does your lay? Come have chat with me about Sowore, the Americans, and the goings on in this particular case in the comment section. But before you do this, click on the red subscribe button so it turns grey. The bell button notifies you every time I drop a new video. Then come tell me what you're making of this Sowore narrative in the comment section. So I'll leave you here. Join you in the comment section. But here I say peace.